2.0. We recorded this episode earlier today with Mike, but we had some audio issues. 30 minutes into the recording, we noticed I was not capturing the audio for Mike and Joe, but here we are. We're going to go ahead and run it again because I cannot get the audio to edit. Is that from you or that from me? I can't tell. So this is Blasted or Stash It. If you haven't seen our show before, on the show, we pick up books every Wednesday. Blast the books we don't like. Those are the books of the church we get rid of, and stash the books we do love. And we're going to go over and head over our books now. But this is a warning. There are spoilers potentially abound. So we'll go ahead and jump into the books. I got the list. I crossed them off. I know you had your notes. You crossed them off earlier. We're going to have to go through this again later. Recording in? No, we are live.
What can I say? First in the room is Double S Comics. Thanks for coming by, loyal follower. We love having you here, buddy.
Okay, go ahead, Joe. Give us your first book.
Oh, what are we going to start with again? Let's see.
Got come up with whole new jokes, everything.
All new jokes, yeah, because I don't remember jokes very well. Let's go ahead and start off with Silver Surfer, Prodigal Son. I can't say enough good things about this character overall and everything that he's been in so far, which is one other comic book, and that was the Fantastic Four, Prodigal Son. In this story, we get a lot more of his backstory in it, which I absolutely love. We find out about that conflict with him and his brother and his father. We find out that they're royalty, like legitimately, and he went to another planet to kind of find out why the people want to be independent, because this is a new concept to them. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And then, of course, Silver Surfer shows up because Galactus is on his way. And Prodigal decides that he's going to try to fight Silver Surfer. I love the mundaneness of Silver Surfer in this and how he just does not see Prodigal as a threat. And then Prodigal, of course, we find out the limits of his power, which he's an elemental, and he shoots after Galactus finally shows up and, of course, swats him away as well. And this picks us up right there at where the Fantastic Four dropped him off on the moon. And Silver Surfer shows back up to say, hey, man, what have you been up to since the last time we met? And they kind of talk for a little bit. And the next thing you know, he jumps on his board and they ride off. And hey, Discovery Bay Comics just jumped in the room. Good to see you, buddy. Talking about Silver Surfer, Prodigal Son. Plus, also, I just love the whimsicalness of this cover right here. It's great.
Yeah, I think I just got cover A on that one. It's a cool Galactus on the cover. That's why I grabbed that one. We talked about it too before, was how Al Ewing, I think, wrote the other one. I don't remember the writer on the last one, but they can continue that his personality, his attitude throughout this book as well. The same kind of writing style with that character, which is nice. There are a few funny parts in here when, like I said, the elemental, he's using water, he's using earth, he's using wind to try to defeat Silver Surfer. And when he uses the water, and Silver Surfer goes, "Did you truly think you're going to stop a surfer with water?" You know, which is, I mean, it's kind of almost out of character for Silver Surfer, because he's more of like kind of like a stoic kind of character. He doesn't really show much of emotion, but this was kind of cool. He did kind of show a little bit of emotion, so that was great. And I'm really digging this new character as well, and kind of seeing where it's going from. And in the next issue, which I think he said it was Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah, they're going to meet Guardians of the Galaxy. I also like the fun little science fact that they had there at the end with the message bubbles, where it has Prodigal talking and Silver Surfer talking, but the boxes are empty, and it's because they're in the void of space. There's nothing for it to bounce off of. So, and then he had to make the air bubbles for them. The writer is just genius, because that's fact, right? There's no noise in space. Has to regurgitate off something and then follow. It has to be super massive. That's why we're able to hear planets and stuff like that. But a voice, as being as weak as it is from person to person, there would be no noise. So I thought that was great. And the funny little where they're pointing at each other's mouths and stuff, and I can't hear you. That was great.
And apparently they live in a McDonald's or something. I don't know. Look at big golden arches there on the
golden arches
on their little tower there. But yeah, this is a stash for me. I'll be picking up Guardians of the Galaxy Prodigal Son #1. Discovery Bay jumped in here as well. Thanks for stopping by. If you missed it, we did record earlier, but we had a snafu, and now we're back going live. We tried to record earlier because Mike had to go to work tonight, and so we're hoping to get him on here. But since Joe said, "Hey, I'm available," I said, "Okay, let's do it again." So
always available. And yes, Double S, Silver Surfer is an underrated character, but I think that's mostly due to just bad writing over the years. Like when Silver Surfer first came out, it was an awesome character, and then there was just some really bad decisions with it. And I like what they've been doing with him lately. And we'll talk more about that when we get into Black, what we did like and what we don't like about that. But yeah, I think he kind of is.
And that's what I was going to jump into next was Silver Surfer Black, since we're talking about different writers and how they've approached this character. And Donny Cates has really taken a different kind of approach to it altogether, more of an emotional approach to it. Because we find out that Silver Surfer, in the past couple issues, has a lot of regret for being the Herald of Galactus. Now, I don't know if you had much of a choice for that, but he's definitely added a little more emotion to that character. Now, at the beginning of this book here, there's a flashback. He's thinking back on his home planet. He's laying there with his wife. He's wanting to start a family. And then I guess I'm not sure if he's the Herald or if he's imagining himself essentially as Galactus, as this world destroyer. Because Silver Surfer Black in there. He turned it almost like a Venom kind of character where the tendrils kind of come out. I really thought that was cool, visionary of him standing there with his arms out and the surfboard's flying up in the air, and that's what blows up the world. I thought that was a really cool visual on that, where he slams his surfboard into the ground, and that's what destroys. But then he wakes up, he's in the gravitational pull of Ego, the living planet, and they're kind of having a discussion because Silver Surfer wants his help and what's going forward. Ego's having these troubles, growing pains, or whatever he's talking about. And Silver Surfer wants to investigate. What I talked about earlier was he's a proctologist within. He's going in to figure out. He's drilling in the backside. He's trying to figure out what's causing Ego this problem. He finds a cube inside. He ends up find out that is the life bringer of Galactus. So this one issue was okay. I don't think it was as good as the other two, but also continue to pick it up. So Silver Surfer Black has been a definite stash for me.
Yeah, I said it earlier today. This is a classic story. This story happens a lot. The most notable story of it is the lion and the mouse, right? There's the lion with the thorn in his paw, and he's growling and he's angry and he's big, and the mouse comes along and plucks it out. Same concept here with this cube that fell inside of, I guess I should say, of Ego, the living planet. And I think I finally determined after issue 3 that I'm not a big fan of the art. And I think I know why now. It doesn't need to be as consistent as it is in here. Like when it does its big splash pages, it's absolutely just beautiful. Like that right there, right? That is just a beautiful splash page. But then every box to be done in the exact same art form just seems cluttered. Like it needs more space to breathe. I don't know. I try not to be an art critic because I know it's subjective. I do like the story, and I think that's what's keeping me on board with it. I'm always more of a story guy anyway. I like where this story is going. I think Ego is an underrated character. He's truly something that doesn't get used to its full potential. But we get him in this book, and I've been enjoying him this far. Also in the chat, welcome Jason Smith. It's good to see you live once again. It is great.
I'm trying to figure out if he was the artist on that last run of Silver Surfer 2, or what else that Trad Moore has drawn. I'm trying to look it up.
Yeah, I don't know. This is a very Alan Moore type style.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah,
the Green Lantern and all that. I know that's DC, but it's kind of that just overuse of negative space, and it seems very clever. It looks beautiful on a splash page. I'll say that all day long, but it just, I don't know. It's a little too much on the smaller boxes.
Yeah, it feels like he probably drops a little acid every single time. He's like, okay, getting ready to draw a Silver Surfer. I better drop some.
Come up with cool stuff.
You know, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not sure what other stuff that he's done art on. But yeah, I also picked up the variant of the Silver Surfer and Thor homage to that Thor issue on. I keep forgetting which side to put the dang book on. The Rainbow Bridge. So I thought that was kind of cool. Picked up that one. What do you want to talk about next, Joe?
Oh man, I don't know. Let's talk about something. Should I blast something? I mean, we've been pretty fair about everything else. I love blasting me a really bad book. Let's talk about Gwenpool. All right, so here we go. I'll try to remember this again. All right. This is a parody of a satire done in postmodernism, so it can be its own critic before the critic can be a critic of it. I know that sounds complicated, but legitimately in the first 4 pages of this, she's talking about why she's not Deadpool, right? And it's for all the reasons that make Deadpool Deadpool. And then we do the most common tropish thing. We run the entire story into a circle that falls on itself. Therefore, it makes no sense, and it's a never-ending loop. Oh my God. This thing is just, this is a writer that's trying to be clever and trying to be different, but she has nothing to be different about. It's the same character. We're told that this is a young lady. Gwen is from our universe, like where we're at right now, and she's like a super comic book nerd. But she's trying to get Spider-Man to bite her so she can get superpowers to stay in the comic book universe. You would think a comic book nerd would know that Spider-Man's doesn't have an effective bite. And Spider-Man even tells her that the spider is what infected me. I can't do that. And it just kind of fell on itself. And I don't really know much about this character. I went in this with new eyes. This is issue number 1. It's Gwenpool Strikes Back. Basically, she just pokes fun at herself and runs her story into a complete and utter circle with no real anything to it, other than the fact that we learned that bananas have some radiation in them. That was the big science lesson in this. Other than that, and oh my Lord, like, take the most narrated story that you ever had, right? And double it. I guarantee you this book touches near that double number. Oh my God. This is just ridiculous.
Yeah, so you didn't read the first volume of Gwenpool.
No, I like reading good comic books.
Yeah, when she came out in Howard the Duck in 2015, 2016. I know that her first print was not her first print was hot, but the Deadpool Secret Wars #2 variant with her on the cover, that one was kind of the hot book. It's a bit. I mean, if you like Deadpool, I think it's a little bit above and beyond Deadpool. You know.
Yeah, and this takes it too far. But I understand some people like this character, and don't worry, I'll put it in an auction for you soon enough.
Okay, you talked about a book that I didn't read. Let's talk about a book I read. It's kind of heating up a little bit. It's about $10, $12 book on eBay. It's Zenoscope. That's The Watcher #1. So this story is kind of a cross between Mean Girls and Poltergeist in a way, So this family keeps moving from town to town. His teenage daughter going to a Catholic school. Her father is a priest, and she has these night terror kind of things where she constantly sees shadows and monsters breaking into her room. But again, she's the new girl in town, kind of, being the preacher's daughter. She's kind of like, she's a virgin. All her friends say, hey, sleep with that guy. You need to sleep with him. And then they call her a whore, even though she didn't sleep with him. It's just that kind of, gang mentality when it comes to high school girls, I guess maybe calling your friends a whore is a nice thing. It's like a guy calling each other a bitch. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. But we find out too that she's having a sleepover, but one of the girls says, hey, I'm headed to a college party and I'm not going to stick around here. And then she ends up having a night terror that night. And they end up showing the beast that shows up. It's kind of a cool demon looking thing there. So that's the demon that's in the room. When the other girl wake up, it's gone. She doesn't see it. She looks into the bed, doesn't see it. But they see the creepy neighbor across the street with the windows open. He's holding a knife, and they're like, "Oh, that's just who's that guy? Who's that weirdo?" And then that virgin girl's talking to one of her friends. She's out with her boyfriend on the beach talking about, and they're saying, "You need to sleep with that guy already. You need to knock it off." And they're hiking back to their car, that couple on the beach, and they end up getting murdered by a knife. All you see is a knife going to the guy's throat. A knife in the panel, but you never see who's actually killing them. So it led to believe to think this that neighbor. It's just like in Home Alone, that crazy old guy with the salt in the sidewalks. You think he's the bad guy through the whole thing, but actually he's a good guy. So I don't know if they're actually going to pull that off here. But they end up murdering that couple, and they put them in a formation in the middle of the woods. So that's how that book ends. There's only 3 issues to this miniseries. I'll probably pick up all 3 books. If you look at cover B on this, it's like a pencil cover. That's a freaking awesome book. I love that cover. And I think I've ordered 2 and 3 just to finish it out. Ooh, man, that's $5.99. I didn't notice the price on that bad boy. That's an expensive book.
Double S says, yeah, that looks like a demonic demon.
Demonic demon? Did I say demonic demon? Did I say that?
Hey, I don't know. It sounds like it. Reminds me of that Tenacious D song. There stood a shiny demon. Or what was it? There shined a shiny demon.
Yeah, I might have said a demonic demon. Who knows? Should we talk about Sausage Fest?
What?
Should we talk about Sausage Fest?
Oh, Sausage Fest. Let's talk about Sausage Fest. Yes. Get some sausage up in here.
If people read that book, they know maybe what we're talking about without even showing the cover on it.
All right. First off, I'm going to say this is a good book, right? It's a legitimately good story. Gets a little weird, but it's a good story. And that is White Trees. This is a good quest, but there is some weird stuff that goes on in here. So if you don't know, this basically takes place, I should say, in a fantasy world, right? And we got elves, and we got cat people or lion people, whatever they are. We got humans. We got kingdoms that have been warring each other. It's everything you could possibly want in a fantasy quest novel. So what we'll do is, instead of trying to remember names, we'll just go by the characters right here on the cover. Now, not Chewbacca character and not Lord of the Rings elf here. They're together, right? They're man and man, right? And they have a daughter from the Animal Thing's previous marriage. Now, there's a daughter, and not so quiet guy here. He's got a son. Now, daughter and son kind of took off on a little vacation, right? Get that done. Some warring tribe or kingdom kidnaps them, and what they don't realize is that these 3 guys are kind of badass warriors from back in the warring time where these 2 kingdoms fought. Okay, just follow me on this. So the dads aren't hearing it. They're going to go get him. At first, quiet dad just wants to be a farmer. He's like, the kingdom will take care of it. But the truth is, he's a warrior. Now, there's a little bit of a problem with this group here. They're calling him a coward because his wife died. A lot of bad things happened. He decided to stay home and avoid the war. Well, we find out that this dude is not only, I would say, the bravest. He walks straight up to a dragon like the thing shouldn't even exist while everybody else is trying to fight it. Realizes there's a chain on it, cuts the chain so the thing can fly away. There comes this part where we're in a forest where everybody gets tempted. And our homosexual couple decide that we find out that they're not just homosexual, they're everything sexual. And they fall into their desires with these particular spirits. And we find out Farmer Joe here has zero joy in him. There's nothing to tempt him. He is literally lifeless. I mean, he's dead on the inside. And the ghost fades away. Everybody realizes that they need to get back on track, back on the mission. This is a good read, other than the ghost orgy that happens in it. But other than that, I love this artwork in here. It's really good. We find out that dad and son don't have the best relationship, and dad kind of realized that's his fault. So it definitely has some heart to it as well. So you got your heart, you got kick-ass action, you got the quiet, silent, tough guy, and you got the two comedic kind of references. All in all, the entire thing is freaking awesome. This is a great book. If you read this, talk about it in the chat. I'm telling you, everybody needs to be reading this. Maybe skip 2 pages. Like Devil Dong spread that was kind of ooh, right? And as you said earlier today, not everybody's Jewish in the fantasy world, we found out.
Yeah, definitely. There's no shading it like in Batman Damned, no silhouette of a Wang. It's full on Wang. It's leg spread, full on Wang. And so because it totally grabbed, because you're reading along, you're like, oh, okay, cool. Okay, this one guy's getting tempted. Okay, holy crap, there it is. This literally almost slaps you in the face, So, and this is a lot of, when the elf dude goes running out of tent, it's flapping behind him almost, man. It's just like, I'm like, Jesus, everybody's hung like a mule here. So, but it was an okay book. There's only 2 issues in this miniseries, so I can overlook the dongness of it. And probably pick up issue 2, but yeah, just be prepared. If you haven't read it, there's some dong. And maybe it should be called white dong. I don't know. Red dongs,
devil dongs. Real quick in the chat, Horror Digest just showed up with us. Good to see your brother. Bake the Snake has stopped by. Thank you. We had him at Ghost Orgy, apparently. Jason Smith, we mentioned you in the room. Everybody, it's good to see all of you back. It's good to be back here live again.
Yeah. And my schedule is going to be changing here in the middle of September, so I'll be able to go back live. But I hope Mike's schedule hasn't changed enough to where he's not going to be able to be on. That's what my concern now. It's this thing, life gets in the way of reading comic books and reviewing them on YouTube. Let's talk about this. This one I was really excited for because of the War of the Realms Omega, because I had like 4 stories that were leading into some new books that are spinning out of the War of Realms. Oh, Joe is getting a refill. I don't know what he's doing, but he'll be right back. So it spun out of War of the Realms Omega, and I really loved. That was my favorite part of that book, was the Punisher and where it was going to with this Punisher kill crew. But in this Punisher is not nearly as brutal, and I'm trying to think of a better word, because in that Omega, he was just blasting stuff left and right, no remorse, boom, shoot it in the head, kill it, move on. Now there's a little bit of that at the first of the book where he's chasing down like the trolls or the I'm not sure if it's a troll or what that is, ice giant. And he's blasting them in the face, kicking the door out with the minigun, blasting them all away. But then it gets to the point where he gets to meets this guy in a wheelchair. They're talking, and he said, "I need some help." And he opens the van door, and there's a whole bunch of kids. And so Punisher decided to take him to pizza and ice cream, take him to Chuck E. Cheese. I don't know. And he wants them to draw all the demons they have seen, or the demons that have killed or captured their parents. And that's now his mission, to take all these cute little Crayola drawings and go after all these monsters. He does blast the one skeleton guy in the park, picks his horned helmet up. Okay, I can deal with that. I can deal with Punisher wearing like a Viking kind of style helmet, going on and blasting people. But at the very end, when he's using Thor's goat to use his van to trek across the galaxy to find all these Crayola drawings these kids made, I don't know. That's where it kind of lost me right there, So I think it's a miniseries too. I might pick up all of them. I don't know. I'll give number 2 a chance, and I'll go from there.
Yeah, I'm pretty much there too. Like like the beginning of this thing kicked butt. Like right there, he breaks up the minigun. He's rocking. He shoots a frost giant right through the freaking eye. He's lighting up bodies left and right. And then, like, all of a sudden, Doctor Strange is like, no, we've made a peace treaty. Yeah, I saw the end of War of the Realms, too. Who cares? Apparently, he made a promise to the guy in the wheelchair. We find out we got a lot of war orphans, and the war orphans want some justice. So Punisher takes them out for pizza and ice cream. Like, I don't know. Was that really the best thing to do? He does get a hold of this tree and kills it. I thought that was kind of stupid. That didn't make any sense from the War of the Realms. I didn't remember any tree people being there. That was weird. The helmet, I'll be honest with you, the helmet's even kind of gimmicky for me. I'm not digging that too much. And then we tape it off with this chariot goat thing. I don't know, man. I don't know. All I want is I'm glad he took his van because he's got a minigun in the back of it. Right? Like that's fair. Right? And apparently he's gonna go traipsing through the cosmos to go find the bad guy. I don't know. I really wanted some more of that. This Punisher from the Savage Punisher and the War of the Realms Punisher. I thought they were very well written. I even like them better than the main storyline Punisher as a character. They just seem more larger than life. And this one's like, oh, look, he likes pizza. Like, I don't know, man. I got to give it issue number 2 because it is Punisher. And I'm a sucker for a good Punisher story. And we'll see where this takes us. But so help me God, if this goat becomes a significant character in the storyline, I'm done.
Yeah, I would think I would rather see Punisher dealing with the remnants of the War of the Realms in New York or, in that area versus going galaxy hopping and trying to find these creatures.
I don't get the whole, and we're assuming there's a galaxy hop because of the last page, right? Because that's what they showed us.
Yeah.
He could very well just be writing, but none of the monsters are there, right? We're led to believe they all left, except for the ones in Australia, right? Because they started a theme park down there. The Deadpool's last story. I don't know. But I don't know. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay. See. I brought that one up. What about you? What do you want to talk about next?
Let's talk about what DC book did you get?
DC books. Let me see what other DC book.
You got Detective, right?
I got it, but I didn't read it.
You still didn't read it? Jeez, you had a second chance at this, and you still failed me.
Yeah, I know. Well, I was too busy trying to edit, too busy trying to.
I'm going to talk about
my laptop working right.
Because we can't forget DC, even though I only got 2 of their books, because everything else is just going to shit. So what do we got here? We got a great existential crisis, or not existential. We have an internal crisis happening here in this book. And Tom King didn't write it. Imagine that. Somebody actually did a good job on an internal crisis. So we get Batman, right? And we get Bruce Wayne, who are objectively 2 different people. But what we're starting to find out is Bruce Wayne really doesn't like being Bruce Wayne. He really wants to just do Batman stuff all the time. He doesn't want to get out of bed. He's going to bed super, super late. At some point, some mysterious villain out there has put a contract on somebody that works for Wayne Enterprises. We don't know if it's actually Bruce Wayne in this because they're on an airplane. Bad things start happening. Plane's going for a crash, right? It lands in an island in the South Pacific. Now, I'm going to speculate here a little bit and say that the island that they crashed on is where for some reason, Green Arrow became a superhero because he was stranded on an island. That's his superpower. So he learned to survive on an island. I always thought that was funny. But I love the artwork in this. I love the way they did Deadshot in this. He looks cool. It looks like a superhero character. A lot of mystery going on, like why is this happening type of stuff. And then because of the cover, we get 2 pages worth of what Dr. Freeze is up to, which is the same thing he's always up to, trying to dethaw his wife without killing her. Imagine that. So yeah, that's where we're at in this story. But I'm going to read more of this. I cannot read a good mystery story, right? Like I had it is like, who's doing this? I want to know who. So I'm going to keep picking up Detective Comics to find out more about this new story arc that we're on. Good stuff.
Is it Tomasi still on that, the writer?
That's a good question. Yeah, Tomasi.
Okay. Yeah, I hadn't read Detective Comics until Tomasi jumped on, and yeah, the first few Tomasi did were great, and I've definitely been reading it more. Just kind of fell off top of the stack for me to read for the week.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about Conan the Barbarian Exodus. So Esad Ribic, that's it. That's all the one who's on this whole thing, because this is just panels. There's no words. There's some foreign language, but it's only maybe a handful of panels. Of course, you can't read what the foreign language is because it's like in not Rubik, but in like just why am I thinking Rubik? Just gibberish. We don't know what it says, you know. So the whole story starts out like the Gray. You know, they ever seen a movie with Gray with Liam Neeson?
Yeah, I love that movie.
You know, the plane goes down. He's surrounded by wolves. He's constantly trying to survive. And that's kind of what this story is. It's just panel and panel and panel. Him going through the snow, him getting attacked by wolves, killing a wolf, eating some of it. Another wolf comes along, chases him out. And then attacked by wolves again in the river. He defeats them there. He's stalked by a mountain lion, kills a mouse and eats it. I mean, so it's just panel after panel of him just surviving through different areas. Some of the art style is a little weird because there are two panels here of Conan on each page. One where he finds water and one where he's about getting attacked by a big bear. But his face is pretty much the same in both panels. Should make you have excitement. Maybe he's excited that the bear's attacking him. I don't know. But it should make excitement for water. Yeah. Same expression for a bear getting ready to attack you. That's a little different. I'd have a different expression. I'd be having me shitting my pants expression if a bear was getting that close to me. But he kind of looks like a Cabbage Patch Kid. In that picture right there, and those are the two panels that you can see him, where one's excitement, one's fear, or one's scared. I don't know. Maybe Conan just doesn't get scared. He defeats the bear. He moves on. He defeats. He finds a whole battlefield full of dead soldiers. Picks up some of their armors, wearing their armor now. And then he gets captured by some other people when he's stealing the goat's milk from the village, and they have him tied up. But he ends up getting out of that too, and that's how it ends. He's tied up almost like crucified in a way. And they go out and they find out he's gone. The rope's cut. He's dredging on. He's covered in blood, and moving forward. That's all he does. And I'm not sure if this is just this is maybe his little bloody path that he went on in this map on the end here. I don't know, but not worth the $3.99. I don't think for it. It doesn't tie into any other Conan stories. It just story talks about Conan surviving the elements, surviving whatever comes at him. He can do it and move forward. I think we all kind of know that about Conan at this point. So
yeah,
don't waste your $3.99 on it unless you're really a big fan of Ribic's art in there. So it's a blast.
Yeah, no, not a big fan of his art. Let's see. Moving on. Did you read Scream? I forgot.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, we can talk about that. So Scream. Now I want to say that we called it right here on Blaster to Stash It, and we were right. In a previous issue of Venom, we sat there and we saw a milk carton inside of a refrigerator, and we saw Donna Diago's missing photo on it. And I said, that's going to be something. And we were all like, oh, yeah, we forgot. She was in the something foundation, and she was a Carnage at one time, or a version of Carnage. And then, boom, we get her coming in her own series, starting right up. Now, likes about this. I like how creepy this was. Like this just set the tone for this creepy feel for this villainous woman. The artwork sung right to it. We got heroes walking around, but they're not getting the job done. Andy comes back from hell from her little reset because she got into some trouble. So she gets sent back to hell and then kind of comes back. She kind of battles it out a little bit. Another previous Venom character kind of fights a little bit too. A character I'm not very familiar with, but I really like this Carnage artwork. The big thing about this book is the motif of God, right? So everybody's talking about God coming, and of course they're talking about Null. But Scream here can't. First, she decides if she can't tell if she's a god or if God's talking in her head or what God is, and God is very heavily referenced in this a lot in a non-good or bad way, however you define it. And in this case, it's just a straight horror film, and it's so good. I like it. I like it when they take the artwork and they don't need a whole lot of dialogue and words. That's a good comic book right there. You know, little narration to kind of give you some thoughts, some screams, some yells, some sound effects. But you could pick this up and you could take all the words out of it and you'll know exactly what's happening in this. And I'm always impressed when an artist is able to do that. Things I didn't like about it, I don't know. It just seems... I just don't get the importance of this story into the absolute Carnage tie-in. Like, we're told it's a tie-in, so what? Everything's turning into Carnage. Like, we get it. Was this a necessary story? No. Was it a good story? Yeah, I'll keep it for that. But other than that, yeah, I like it. But if somebody wants to give me $10 for it, I'll give it to you.
Yeah, the art in this book was very very busy in some scenes, to where it was, for me, almost kind of hard to follow. You know, some of the big splash pages. You talk about Trad Moore not using a whole lot of negative space. You know, not leaving a whole lot. There were some panels I felt were that way too. There was just chock full of stuff that was. Of course, I mean this page is meant to be that way. It's meant to kind of like I think. Bring that anxiety kind of out in you. For me personally, like reading through, it's like, oh God, you know what the hell's going on? There's a lot, and it's hard for me to follow. And I think if that's what it's meant to do, it's doing its job for me, especially. You know, but they do have some questions. Let's flip through the book here again. It was talking about now, was she resurrected this from the bones? Is that? Yeah. Because it talks about a worm crawls through the dirt, leaves casings behind, blah, blah, blah. And it raises up. You know, talking about adding that horror aspect to it, you know, you see Venom kind of take over or symbiote take over a body. That's kind of gruesome with that panel right there when it takes over that body, you know. So, but again, too, is it necessary to follow the absolute Carnage story online? I don't think so. It's $3.99. It wasn't the $4.99, thank goodness. But I don't think I'm going to be picking up any more of these tie-ins to go to the absolute Carnage. I think I'm just going to pick up the main story, and hopefully it's going to give me enough that I can follow through what's going on. I think most of the time they do it with these big event books is they give you enough in that main story that you don't need to pick up everything. But I guess it all depends on what kind of collector you are. If you want to get the whole series, I remember when I did Secret Wars, I tried to go back and get every single thing that tied in, and I just gave up on it. The one that came out in 2015, and so I just said, nope, not doing it. And I've kind of had that rule about going forward with any of the big event titles, unless it's something I'm already picking up that ties in. You know, I'll just pass on it. And I think that's what I'll do with this. I'm not going to pick up Scream or any of the other tie-in books. I know you grabbed one other tie-in book too this week that came out. Let's talk about. Oh man, I've only got 4 books left that I read. I guess I could have read a couple others too, you know, but I didn't figure we were going to be recording it tonight, so I didn't read them. I'm like, okay, I've read enough right now. Let's talk about Fantastic Four number 13.
Let's talk about Fantastic Four number 13.
Get on my book. So this left off in number 12 So Alicia and Ben Grimm were going on a honeymoon. Reed gave him this cool thing that's going to change him into Ben Grimm so they can brown cow on their honeymoon. And then Immortal Hulk attacks, and he has limited time left before he turns into Ben Grimm, where he's not going to be able to help potentially fight off the Hulk. So he had like 54, 56 minutes left, and the Hulk is just tearing him up. In this book, I mean, it's cool to see damage. You know, when the Hulk slammed in the side of the cheek, you see rocks busted out. You know, and things given all he can to try to defend off the Hulk. Now, I don't know I know a thing of Hulk have fought quite a few times throughout Marvel history. I don't know what the record is between them. You know, I don't know if Hulk usually wins.
Hulk's always won.
What's that?
Hulk's always won, except for one time it was a draw.
Oh, really?
One time it was a draw. The other times the Hulk's always won.
Oh, really? So Alicia's trapped under this rubble. It's a big cave kind of thing, you know, with a whole bunch of people. People say, we can't see. And she goes, this is my world. I live in it. You know, follow me, essentially. I know what to do. You know, because Ben Grimm cannot focus on fighting the Hulk if he's worried about us in here. So we need to find our way out and kind of do that on our own. They get out, you know, and Thing gets knocked over where she is, and he's telling her, I can't do this. He's bigger than me. I don't know if he says he's smarter than him, but you know, they have that comic book trope. You don't have to be bigger, you have to be smarter. You have to have more of a heart, and that's where Thing gets his power from. And he uses a vibranium ring to, you know, smash Hulk so bad right when the time runs out, and you see his arm bust open. It's got a great big 2-page splash on there. That's great. And then as the time runs out, he says he can't believe he won. He slowly changes into Ben Grimm and passes out. And then he wakes up 2 weeks later. He's Thing again. No brown chicken, brown cow. None of that stuff happened for him. But he did finally beat the Hulk then. And he has a cool new arm brace to go along with it. I'm not sure if was it vibranium?
No, it's temporary. It's just until his arm heals because he wants to get it bronzed afterwards as a trophy.
Oh, that's right. That's what maybe I want it bronzed because he has that like I beat the Hulk kind of thing. I guess like a memento, you know. Oh. So and then we get a little epilogue too with the Hulk finding the puppet master and laying the smackdown on him. It was good. It was good. I actually enjoyed it. It's a stash.
Yeah, this is a great story. My only criticism is the speech from Alicia, where she's kind of like, just beat him with your heart and feelings. And I'm like, you didn't really need to do that in dialogue. You could have done that through the artwork alone, put her in some sort of danger and, you know, make him react to it. That I thought that would have been better. It came off really cheesy. I know whoever wrote this was like, yeah, just the power of love will save us while he's listening to Chicago or some other 80s band. You know, I don't know. That seemed hinky. Now, every other bit of this I absolutely loved. Let me be very clear on that. The Immortal Hulk still seemed very much like the Immortal Hulk that we're reading in the other Immortal Hulk comic book. I like the fact that every time Ben Grimm takes a wound, it actually breaks away the rock. You know, we kind of get this skin thing underneath it to kind of show that just the damage that he's taking and how it sustains. I love the motif we'll say motif. The motif of the ring, right? The ring's a big deal. It's made out of vibranium, so because he's always having to clobber things, right? And so he gets his ring made out of vibranium, and it's constantly shining. It's constantly a figure throughout the books. You can catch it in the smaller panels, just lightly shining a little bit, all the way up to where he's about to land his knockout punch. You know, it's always there. It's, you know, it's a great signature of their wedding vows, right? And then, of course, yeah, no good times because once a year he gets to turn into human Ben Grimm, but he got knocked out, but he got to beat the Immortal Hulk, right? This one time. Well, Immortal Hulk doesn't apparently like being controlled very much, so he shows up to Puppet Master, and he does that to his fingers. And then right when you sit there and think that, oh, yeah, that's good job, apparently he does a lot more to him in this panel here, where he just starts breaking everything apart. We don't know what he does to him or how far he goes, but the significance of Puppet Master, if you haven't been reading the series, is that's Alicia's father. And we found out in this issue as well that, in the last issue, that Alicia actually lied to Ben Grimm about the giving away the daughter, saying that it was okay, given his blessing of the marriage. She actually made a clay figure and made him do it. So that's family's a little weird. So I found that, and I'm really interested on what this next story is about. Point of origin begins. So we're rolling into a new arc right here. It looks like there's going to be more cosmic involvement. I'm looking forward to that. I always like the Fantastic Four when they're in space. It seems that's when they do their coolest stuff. So I'm excited about that coming up. Oh, the Great Legend. Yes, the FF wedding special was a great issue. I actually got the 1 per store and the 2 per store variants for that. I tried to stay away from those sometimes, but I couldn't help it on that one. It was just a great issue. Beautiful story. And welcome, Great Legend.
Doesn't he? I thought he. This thing realized it earlier in this issue that Puppet Master's controlling him.
No, he finds out in this issue about midway. Puppet Master can't help but brag about what he's doing.
Yeah, because it thinks that's what this is all about. You're mad about me, Alicia, getting hitched. Since you sick the Hulk on us, you put her in every danger. That's because we tied the knot. That does it. I'm taking this punk down, saving her, and coming after you, Geppetto. Yeah. I was really hesitant on Dan Slott taking over Fantastic Four, and I really had a bad left my stomach from issue 1, and how that was just that shaped me the wrong way. So let's talk about. I brought that one up. What you want to talk about next book?
It's not like you pay me, man. Don't be bossing me around.
I wish I could pay you, Joe.
I'll go ahead and talk about
it. On time and a half right now.
I'll go ahead and talk about it and be the bad guy. We'll talk about Power of X or 10 or whatever the hell you want to call it, because it doesn't really matter, because it makes just as much sense as the story. I know everybody's hyped on this thing. And look, collect what you like, read what you like, no doubt. I'm a 43-year-old, probably drunk. I don't know. I haven't been to a meeting yet. But I cannot get into this story. And I mean, I have tried. I just don't think it's good. And I'm having a hard time with this McTaggart person being a Omega level mutant, and all she does is reincarnate. Like, people actually believe in that. That's not a mutant power. I also don't like the fact that in the last story it resets time, so anything that really happens in this book is just Groundhog's Day. So how are we getting a glimpse of 100 years, 1,000 years, and everything else? She doesn't live that long in none of their timeline that they put together. And I know these are nuancy things, but when I look at this story and I read it, now I will say this: the story of, I believe it's 1,000 years in the future, where they're in the library and they're learning things. I like the artwork in it, and I like that story. But I mean, you have 3-4 stories in here, and then in between it, you have a narration and a codex that you have to find, and it just seems like a lot for a comic book. And the story's just, as it keeps going, it just keeps falling in on itself. Like, it will say something, and it's not exactly following it very well. So yeah, unfortunately, I'm gonna pick up at least one more issue of each. And I say each because I'm talking about the House of X and the Power of X. And yes, I am going to call them X. I'm not Roman. Right? I don't follow the Roman numeral system. It's an X. I will say this. I will say something good about this. This is objectively better than that Age of X-Men, X-Tastics, Next Gen X, all that garbage stuff that came out the last rotation. It's better than that, and I kind of like this Nimrod, the lesser character. And they're touching on things that we all read in comic books before, the mother mold and the whole 9 yards. That's kind of cool, but so what? I mean, your Omega level character is basically a Buddhist. That's really it. Like I'm a superhero. Okay, no, I'm not buying it.
Yeah, I mean, I see what Hickman's trying to do with trying to reboot the whole X-Men timeline. I mean, the movies are bad enough with being convoluted and how stuff fits in, and the books are that way too. He's trying to totally reboot it, but I'm gonna call Powers of X 2. I'm not gonna call Powers of 10. House of X, Powers of 10, or Powers of X. So this one seems a lot harder to read. Powers of X seems a little more difficult than House of X for me, and I think it is because it's going through 4 different timelines. Where I could read that House of X where it said reboot back to McTaggart being reborn again. Okay, I can see this timeline. Okay, reboot. At least it gave me some kind of like that, so I got able to follow it. This was really hard to follow. I mean, Nimrod in here, he doesn't hold anything back. He fries people left and right, because I don't know if the guy screwed up or what they did. But yeah, this is super hard to follow. I think this might be something that be worth a read altogether once everything's completed. I'm gonna blast the book, but I'm gonna end up picking up all of them. That's the downside to it. I mean, they're $5 a pop.
I want to give this a fair shot because it is Hickman, right? And Hickman's got this reputation of starting off extremely slow and then doing some really cool stuff. My only thing is I don't want to get so bored with the story that I actually start thinking about the price of the book. Like, that's how you know when you're pretty much done with a series, when you can't justify that $5 prize point and there's something else that may capture your interest. And these comic book writers that are doing this now, they don't understand, not everybody out there can drop, what is it? I buy roughly between 15 and 20 books a week, right? That's my budget, 15 to 20 books, right? And there's always new independents that are coming out with really cool stuff. So somebody's going to have to take a back seat. I don't want it to be X-Men, but I don't also want to watch Groundhog's Day all over again. Like, I'm sorry.
I brought up Secret Wars earlier, the 2015 one that came out. That was right back when I was jumping back into comics. So I was out for almost 20 years. I didn't know a whole lot was going on in Secret Wars. I've gotten some more history on stuff the past 4 or 5 years. Understand a little bit more now. I went back and reread Secret Wars in its entirety. It made more sense to me. That was actually Hickman too. I was just looking up to make sure. I thought that was Hickman. So he did Secret Wars in 2015. He's doing this one here, and I'm wondering if it's going to be the same thing for me. I'm going to have to wait and read it as a whole, and then go, oh, okay, now I get it. Now I understand what's going on. What is nice, though, it is coming out weekly to some degree. I mean, every other week for House of X and Powers of X, but still, it's coming out at a rapid pace versus waiting, a month or two in between issues, which is nice to be able to hopefully have some of that retention. But again, I'm going to blast this book, but I'm going to end up picking them all up, and I know it. We were talking about spending $5 for a book. You talk about your pull list getting so big. We were talking off air when my LCS has Justice League of America #1, pretty low grade. They want $300 for it. I'm like, man, I really want that book. And they say, hey, quit buying all these damn indie books, and it's yours. And I'm like, dude, you're not making any money by telling me not to buy books from you. So it's the same kind of thing. It's like, what's on my pull list? What am I going to drop? And I have quite a few books that are that way too. That I like the story, but I like this one more, and I might kind of at a limit on what I'm spending each week. Although I don't really put myself on much of a budget, I just freaking buy.
The only benefit about that is we do have a comic book review show, and if you don't read the most popular thing out there,
yeah,
we're the assholes.
Yeah. And that's why I told him too. I said, well, I got to try to read as much as I can. And he says, when my order comes in, he goes, what in the hell are you reading? Because he sees these really obscure books, the one she loves, or whatever, the one I read a couple weeks back. He's like, he saw it on my list. He's like,
yeah, that one made me scratch my head too, brother. Like, really?
So let's talk about this one by. You read it. You said you quickly read it in the store, and you decided, nope, not picking it up. And that is by it's H1 or the Ignition Comics or Humanoid Comics. I'm not sure what the publisher is on it, but that's Omni #1. So the main story is she's a nurse that's in Africa, a nurse without borders. So she's working there.
She's a doctor.
I'm sorry. Yeah, doctor. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Doctor. Don't you take that away from her.
I'm sorry. She worked hard for that. I apologize. She's getting paid 72 cents on the dollar. So yeah, she's a doctor in this hospital in Africa, kind of doctor without borders. She's operating on this kid, 10, 12 years old or whatever. A whole bunch of mercenaries come in, are forcing her to stop doing that, operating on the kid, to focus on one of the mercenaries who had been shot. And we kind of find out she has this power that she's able to kind of be kind of everywhere at once, kind of be able to focus on multiple things at the same time. She's that kind of smart where she can kind of like here on this panel here, she's walking around the room, essentially parts of her brain are walking around the room and dealing with certain situations. It reminded me a lot of Prodigy by Image Comics. I forgot the name of the writer on that. But yeah, definitely Prodigy all the way. She comes back home. People think she has PTSD. It's not really that. And it kind of, she's talking to her sister, I think is on the front porch, and she's kind of breaking everything down in her head. When she says one word, 3 different things pop up. That's her kind of like compartmentalizing essentially in her brain. That's what I gather. She's able to do some other powers too, like, I don't know if it's warp through a garbage truck to make an accident happen, to create a diversion for some other guy that's in the group. But yet we don't know what that diversion was for. Was it for good? Was it for bad? We don't know. That's the thing. I won't be picking up the next issue, so this is actually a blast for me. But yeah, she's a doctor, not a nurse, so I apologize for taking that away from her.
She's everything.
Everyone.
Everything you can
Gore Vidal says Hickman writes like a novelist, so it may take a better read.
He does.
Let me show that there. To read The Power and House of X and Trade. Yeah.
He's absolutely right. Yeah, he's very long form in his comic book writing, and I just don't know if I trade paperback like Double S said would probably be the way to go.
Yeah.
No sense in forking over that much cash and having to remember every little nuancey detail. It's just too much.
Well, I don't think I'll pick up the trade as well. I'll probably just buy all the books and reread them again once I'm SDNs. I don't think I want to spend any more money on them. You're up with your book. I've only got one other book that I've read this week, and that's Once and Future.
All right, we'll talk about that next. Let me get something else out of the way here. Let's see here. What do I really, really want to talk about? If I had to tell you all one book to rush out and go get, what would it be? Let's see here. Yeah. All right, so this is an independent, and it's called Show's End. Guys, this is a good book. This is a sleeper book right here. I'm not one to tell people to go get a book, but if you can read this someplace, this is actually just a fun story, and it's really going to be entertaining. Very rarely do I even bother recommending books to people, but I really enjoyed this. This little character right here, this little doll figure right here, is a little girl. She's also a terrifying freaking monster that lives in the basement of a house because her dad and parents are jerks. This whole story takes place in 1928 and with a carny type show. And carnivals freaks weren't exactly treated very well back then, especially in the South, I hate to say. Mom does have somewhat of a heart. She runs away, finds herself running away to a carnival and hiding out. Unbeknownst to everybody, and you as the reader, she's this monster that's prowling around at night. Well, this little girl right here with the pinhead, we like her. She's just a fun-loving character that immediately makes friends with our antagonist of the story. She's allowed to stay with the carnival because a gypsy sees something in her that doesn't make her normal. They don't like normal people there, normies as they call them. And apparently the local village will say, well, no, it's a bunch of rednecks, really. Let's just be honest. It is what it is. They decide to shoot a bunch of bullets into the carnies to kind of chase them off, and they end up killing our little girl right here. Not very well. The monster comes out of the woods and starts tearing everybody up, and then that's when we find out that it's this little girl right here with a pretty smile. Oh, my Lord. I love what the writers did with this. And look, spoilers, it's a review show. That's what happened. All right, let's get past that. Issue 2 and 3, I think we're really going to see some exciting things in this book. Speculation-wise, I don't really get into that. But I'm going to tell you right now, it would not surprise me if somebody does not pick this up in the next 6 months, because it reads beautifully. It reads so beautifully, and the dialect in it for the 1928 old carny type talk, you can just hear it in your head. It just makes sense. You would be lucky to read this and not be out there picking up the characters that would play it. Like the head carny guy would just be Danny DeVito. There's nobody else that could do it. You're going to read this and you're going to be like, oh my God, I could cast this. It's just a fun read. Get it if you can. Or just listen to my reviews, because I will review every issue of this as I go through and pick this up. Great story. I absolutely enjoyed it. And it wasn't my pick of the week. Like, there's something even better. So, yeah, show's end, definitely. And I got this off the recommendation of Simple Man Comics, along with a couple other books. I don't really do a whole lot of reviews and pick their suggestions. That's not really my thing. But I did because I like Simple Man. I think he's a great guy. And I was like, you know what? He recommended 3 books on the show, and I was like, you know what? It's time for me to pick it up. And yes, I would say that this would be somewhat of a homage to the film Freaks, but not in the Freaks being scary, like the Freaks being kind of the ones that seek your sympathy. Like, you feel bad for them, more along those lines than this being scary. So yeah, good. By the way, good film. By the way, holy crap, Double S, good job. Was that Double S? No, I'm sorry, Gord Vidal. Yeah, yes, I love that movie. That is a great movie.
I don't know if I've ever seen that movie. When did that come out?
Older black and white movie. It's called Freaks.
Okay,
it's about carny freaks.
See, my LCS was supposed to get that. I didn't come in under shipment for me. Hopefully, I'll still be able to. It's still going to come in. Hopefully, it doesn't have that purple death where I'm not going to be able to get it. But hearing you talk about it, kind of reminds me of what's that? There's a show. God, I can see the picture. It's on FX. Every season has to do with a different haunted, like a haunted mansion, a haunted asylum. There's one to do about circus, and makes me kind of think of that when you're talking about it.
The HBO one, Carnival. It kind of reminds me of that to some degree.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Oh, that's a good show. You should, man. It's like you live in the woods there, half squatch.
I do. Since I've been sick, I've been rewatching Sons of Anarchy from the beginning. I don't know if you've ever watched that show.
Yeah, I watched like 2 episodes. I got it. I got it. They're a gang. Got it.
Well, it's the same writer of The Shield. I really love The Shield. I think I'm on season 5 already, so I've done a lot of American Horror Story. Yes, thank you, Double S.
Yeah.
Okay, so last book I have that I read this week is Once and Future by Boom. This was kind of the hot book of the week. They had a special thank you to all the retailers. That was like a 1 per store variant. One of my stores wanted to charge $70 for it, and I said, no, thank you. I think the other one I think he sold it for, I don't remember how much he sold for. It's definitely a little cheaper than what the first store was charging. But I didn't get my hands on that one. But I don't think it really needed to. This was a great book. And I can see what you're talking about here going into some kind of TV show or something like that, because it all has to do with King Arthur and his story, backstory. And it starts out with they've excavated this lake that's been, they've had a drought, so they're able to get to the bottom of this lake and do some excavating. They find this scabbard. This doctor comes in and says, "Hey, is that what you found?" "Oh yeah, we found that. It's pretty good shape still." They try and kill the guy that they found, and then it pops into a nursing home. A whole bunch of old people sitting around watching TV, and this news story is on the radio, on the TV. And one old guy's wanting to change the channel, and the old lady's like, "Yeah, you go ahead and change that channel. You could do it. It'd take a long time to heal some broken fingers, though. So there's something up with this lady. She's not just your typical old lady in a nursing home." So he ends up getting out of the nursing home into the woods. They call her grandson. He ends up finding her finally, and we find out that she's not, again, not your typical old lady. She has this secret. Is it cache?
Cachet.
Yeah, actually had the A on the end of it. I've been saying it wrong.
Actually, it's a hyphenated E, but yeah, it's French.
Cache. Okay. Now that I know that, something new every day. Yeah, she has a whole bunch of weapons in there: grenade launchers, machine guns, swords. And we find out that she's kind of like this monster hunter. This is something her grandson never knew about her. And they're standing there, kind of talking. He's finding this information out. All of a sudden, there's this thing behind him. It's a big snake, hyena, cheetah, dragon, whatever hybrid. And it starts chasing him around, which I don't understand why all of a sudden it leaves. But it goes into more of the story of King Arthur, and potentially maybe he may be coming back to save the what do they talk about here? He may be the good guy or the bad guy coming back. Essentially, he may bring the apocalypse or save thee from the apocalypse. That's essentially what they're going with here. But for me, all the stories I ever heard of King Arthur was he's a good guy. I mean, you have more information on it than that, and so it's kind of an interesting take for me to read that. Wait a minute, he may not be this good guy that we all think he is. So that's what's awesome about this book. It has some history to it, and I think I'm definitely going to be picking up issue 2. This is a stash for me.
Yeah, I first off, kudos to the writer on this. Yeah, Gillen. Okay, we'll go with Gillen. Good job, Gillen. Gillen is a super intelligent guy who's obviously studied literature. This is very interesting. The whole story with the grandmother and the cachet, and then the Highlynx comes to attack them. It's a monster that has several parts to it, like a lizard head, lion body. You get the gist. You've seen these in like Greek mythology and stuff like that before. They're all called the same thing. They're just a hodgepodge of animals. And apparently there's this spear that can chase it off. That falls under a whole nother type of mythological story in itself. The one that I like the most is the King Arthur story in here, and I love the fact that this person's actually done some research or maybe even read the stories himself. King Arthur was never a good guy. He was a bad, evil person. Yes, he did bring the tribes together in Great Britain, and this is all fictional. Just before somebody's like, well, King Arthur was a historic. No, he's a fictional character. He's never real. But the whole lady in the lake thing, the scabbard that could actually heal somebody, these are all actual parts of the mythology of King Arthur. And what happens to King Arthur eventually when he brings the tribes together, he turns into a dick. Like a hardcore dick. It ends up getting killed by his brother, who steals the scabbard so he can never be healed. This is actually referenced in the comic book, which is just mind-blowing. Like, I never thought anybody would actually put it in there. And we have these, and we'll just call them Knights Templars for right now because we don't know what they are. And they wear the red cross that Knight Templars wear. They're going to go resurrect King Arthur. And this is very instrumental because they kind of subtly hint to like things like Brett X in here and the breaking down of England as a whole. And apparently these people's answer is to bring forth King Arthur to unite England again. Again, not really thinking that he's kind of a dick, right? Like he's a dick. So kudos to the writer for this. I love it when writers are, I don't want to say intelligent. Let's say they've done their research and they're creative enough to mix fantasy, various genres of fantasy and novel together to create these kind of stories. I think it's very whimsical. I think this is going to be just a fantastic book. My pick of the week. It's a great sleeper book. Again, right there with Show's End. This is right there with it. Again, don't like telling people what to do, but I promise you, if you sleep on this book, you're going to end up paying more for it later because this is just such a good read. And the art in it's just fantastic. And it's a great concept that we know works. We've seen these kind of concepts on Warehouse 13 and some of the earlier X-Files back before they got all weird. We've seen this kind of fantasy novel. Well, that's not the actual story. The actual story is this. And it's just great stuff. Definitely, if you can, check it out. I know my comic book shop still has some. And I think you might be able to get it on Comixology in the next 2 months. It's not on there yet, but I believe it's been ordered for that. Just to read it, it's just a great read. You immediately relate to the characters. They seem like something real. It is great. And we got a message. Another book my comic book shop didn't get. Once in the Future, King Arthur Royally title from. Yes, you are absolutely right, Legend. I think you're absolutely right. Excalibur film and Marley book inspired the works. Are wonderful. Yes, you are absolutely right. Damn, Gore, you kind of know some stuff, brother. Damn. I had to research it. You just knew it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just a dude to read shit and go, oh, I don't understand that. And you guys are able to go off and make some cool connections. I go, well, I'm just a moron over here. Yeah, that's the last book I read this week. I'll run over the other books I did pick up. And if you when you are reviewed, you can kind of give a brief synopsis of some other books. Wonder Woman number 76, pretty cool prison cover. Picked up that one. I'm kind of hit or miss on those Wonder Woman books. They kind of have the cover has to really grab me in order for me to pick it up because those are all just cover buys. Red Sonja number 7. I do read these. These have been pretty good. I always pick up the Linsner cover on those. Valeria, number 1. Didn't get a chance to read this, but I know we talked about it earlier. There's something that Mike caught in Chicago. It's Detective Comics. I haven't read that one yet. Unnatural, number 12. So this is the final issue of that maxi series. So it's kind of like one of those things we talked about earlier about something on our pull list. Like, whew, okay, that one's done. I don't have to worry about buying that one anymore. Okay, good. Now I can replace it with something else. A couple of the spec books this week, they all got recalled by DC. That's Supergirl number 33. I picked up the Derek Chu cover on that one, and then Superman number 14. And these are running $30-$35 each.
Those are the recalled ones.
These are the recalled ones. Yeah.
You lucky son of a bitch.
I ordered that Chew one previously, and then I go in and pick up my books, and he's like, "Hey, do you want this too?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, why not? I guess I'll take it." He knew that they were recalled, so they're spiking right now. They're probably going to end up dropping back down to $10 range, maybe. I would think. I don't think that they're going to go anywhere else beyond that. And I picked up this great Catwoman 14 art germ cover, very homage to Batman the Animated Series. Love that cover. The next cover that's coming out too is great Batman 89 Catwoman homage cover. That stuff is really great. So what else do you get, Joe? That
I got quite a bit. So, I've read everything. So I'm just going to run a quick synopsis on these. We're not going to get too crazy. If you want to know anything more about these, you can check it over on my channel. But we'll go ahead and break these down real quick for you. With it, Leviathan number 3. Hey, we find out that the Red Hood is not Leviathan in this. Imagine that. We already kind of knew that, but apparently the characters are a little slow, even though they're detectives. However, Amanda Waller is confronted by Leviathan at the end of this one. She's at a gas station, and guess who shows up? Our boy in blue himself, and he wants to have a conversation with Leviathan. Shit's about to go down. The action's about to start. You need to pick this up if you like that storyline. That's all the DC I got. Moving on to Marvel. Separation Anxiety. This is a great another spinoff for the Absolute Carnage, but this is probably the creepiest one out there. Little girl has family problems. She's outside crying. Brother's hiding in an attic reading comic books. He's kind of a comic book nerd. Mom and dad are going at it. They're saying vile stuff to each other. Little girl just wants to have a normal family. She gets her wish. This is one of your typical watch what you wish for, you just may get it. Entire family becomes Venoms, where she is trying to escape, and they're trying to act like a regular family. They're literally telling her through the entire thing, this is what you wanted. This is absolutely terrifying. 1, because it's suburbia. 2, because it's Carnage suburbia. It's creepy. All right, next. Amazing Spider-Man. Girl got the power. Girls go after Boomerang because apparently Boomerang flirted with like 3 of them. Apparently that justifies his death. However, it doesn't happen, and we find out that their leader is actually in love with Peter Parker's roommate. And the last page in this, they open their mouths so freaking wide you think their jaws about to unhinge and swallow each other. This is 2 ridiculous issues that have nothing to do with the storyline at all. Love this one. Hard Stash. Love the play on art there with the old Loki and the new Loki on there, because that's typically what we're getting. I like this Loki that's in this story. He's mischievous. He wants to do the right thing. But let's be honest, doing the right thing takes a lot of work and a lot of time. It's easier just to lie and cheat your way through it. Let's see how it works for him as we continue on with this story. This has been good. Hard Stash. Moving on to my independence. I know it's not the most favorite book out there, but I have been enjoying Sharky. And this is Sharky number 5 right here. Bounty hunter, error of his ways, doing the best he can. Now he's going to save a terrorist. It's not really a terrorist. It's fake news media stuff. So trying to reconnect with an ex-wife and has an orphan kid hanging out with him. The nuclear family's out the window. We'll call it the cosmic family at this point. It is awesome. Reaver 2. If you didn't read Reaver 1, it's almost like you don't like comic books. Like, I don't know what's wrong with you. But in true quest story fashion, in the second act, we find out more about the abilities of our particular heroes in this. We got the kind of, sort of, maybe kind of feminine, but really good leader, super smart guy with interrogation. We got the soldier, just a grunt human soldier. We got the big hulking mess. And we got the wildling. And we got a wizard and its bodyguard. And they're going on a quest. Think Suicide Squad in medieval times. Boom. Reaver. Got to get yourself some of that. Moving on. Black Hammer and Justice League. This is a weird story because I don't know much about the Black Hammer history. And that's my fault. People have been telling me already. I have to read it. I have to read it. And I just never got around to it. But I'm slowly catching up. I'm liking this. What happens when you stick a bunch of heroes in a place where nothing happens? Well, they lose their mind. And apparently we find out that Flash is dead. Why? We'll find out in the next issue. So our Black Hammer people are over in the other universe right when Starro is attacking and all the little sucky starfish are landing on everybody's face, and they're caught up in the middle of that with the rest of the Justice League. So that's pretty interesting. At least some action happens in it. And last but not least, Second Coming. I've been enjoying this. I do not take this as a stab at religion. I think it's a satirical look at it at best. But I'm really liking this, because if you say that's a horrible thing that Christians shouldn't like, well, then you're not really reading this comic book, because Jesus is actually kind of a chill cat in this. Like he's Jesus. Like, go figure it. The rest of it kind of comes off like a stepfather that's kind of disappointed in his stepson. That's God. And the superhero kind of does all the things that a first-year philosophy student would do. Like, if there's a God, then why do people die? That's logistics. That's math. Like, legitimately, if nobody died and we kept having children, it'd just be a mess. So this is good. The jokes land in it. Yeah, it could be I can see where it could be insulting to Christians. But really, once you get past that and you find out that there is a meaningful story here about being a good guy, not just acting like a good guy, but being a good guy, not jumping to conclusions, not melting people's faces, but doing the right thing and being chill about it. That is okay. Yes, and I love that is a good comment there, Brandon. There's a scene in here where there is a gentleman and he's in the food court of heaven, because that's what you do in heaven, apparently, right? And I got to tell this part. And the guy sits down. He's got a little halo and everything. And he sits down and he closes his hand. He starts praying, and God is like sitting there. And he goes, I don't know why people do that. Why do they do that? Hey, I'm sitting right here. You don't need to do that here. This is heaven. It was great. I thought it was funny. We get 3 biblical stories in this, or reference to biblical stories, about the time that Satan kind of tried to tempt Jesus from the Bible, and the one time that it almost worked for him. And we kind of got more deep meaning from that. So, yeah, I get where some people think that it's like a stab at religion. I'm not seeing that. I'm actually seeing the interaction and the dialogue in it, and I'm really enjoying it. So other than that, I think this is great stuff. And we got a lot of comments.
Yeah, we had quite a few. Yeah, Gore was talking about, I'm glad he recommended it. He recommended Uber by Gillian as well, retelling of WW World War II with superheroes, Wonderfully Bleak. So,
yeah.
I think Paul read that too, and he actually really enjoyed that, and he was trying to get everybody on board with that. And Brandon says he's been loving Shaky. Extra Billy is his favorite.
Good analogy.
Going back to the Second Coming, I didn't read the second issue. When I read the first issue, I was thinking it was kind of blasphemy in a way, But there was some funny lines in there. I did truly like the part when he's like talking about all the crosses. He's like, dude, Trigger, hello. I was crucified on that. Why using it as a symbol of my religion? That wasn't a good time for me, And the whole part when the superhero is kicking everybody's butt, and like breaks their legs or whatever, throws them out the window, and Jesus heals them all and lets them all go.
Well, this one, you remember in the first issue, he was beating up the robots right there at the beginning.
Yeah.
Well, in this one, we find out that they were actually humans in bad costumes.
Oh, really? Really?
You saw the damage he did to him, right? He was like,
yeah,
one mess up after another.
So yeah, that's it. That's all our books this week. I do want to talk about our Patreon. I got the package. For some reason today, I've been off for a few days fighting this chest cold and stuff I've got. I got, Matthew Sloan's package all ready to go, getting ready to go to the post office to mail it off. I'm like, it's Sunday. Everything off. Damn it. But I got his package. He's got that Parallel Venom #1 as well as a stack of other books I got sent up to him for being a Patreon member. That was a book that actually for, I think it was June or July, I finally got it. So that's getting sent out to him. These are the 2 books. We have Kirby, one of the winners, as well as Bob World. So either they get a Vampirella cover or they get the Black Cat cover. So these are just a couple examples of the books we do give away on our Patreon. And I might start doing that thing to where I'm giving out, a stack of books, back issue books of something maybe you like. If you're interested in something like that, you want to be included in on that contest, go to our Patreon. $1 a month gets you 1 entry, $2 gets you 2, 3 gets you 3. And it'll get your entry for that book of the month, as well as maybe some few of the back issues. It's definitely worth it. I mean, because if you're kicking out $1 a month, that's less than a candy bar. that's one step, as close to diabetes. Who knows?
Really, that's where you went.
That's where I went with it. Yeah. So, you never know. So definitely go check out our Patreon. I'll have a link. I had the chance to edit it before we went live tonight. I'll have a link to that down below. I do have quite a bit of stuff I've been putting on eBay for my comic shop. If you want to go check that out, I'll put a link for that down there too. We may be doing a auction on here. I may be doing a whole bunch of 50-cent books, and we'll figure out maybe how that goes. Some examples of the books I do have on our my eBay page right now. Like this is Tom and Jerry's Back to School from 1956. That's on there if you're interested in that kind of stuff. And some other 90s books. What do I got here? Some Harbinger, some Warlord, stuff that's relatively cheap. If you want to go check it out, definitely go by and check that out. What do you got there, Joe?
Real quick, I just want to do a quick shout out to a local artist here in Virginia named Cordy Willies Jr. He wrote his first comic book, and it's called City Earth. I'm going to be honest, I like this. And I'm kind of biased, right? Because I got the first 4 issues here. Basically, the entire story takes place here in Virginia, and more especially, I should say, here in the Southampton Roads area. So you use places like Norfolk, Suffolk, Newport News, the Dismal Swamp, and basically, it's just to give a quick synopsis. He does have one of his issues on Comixology right now. Again, it's called City Earth. He does have them on sale online. I think it's a good comic book. I really, really like it. I promised him I would give him a shout out. I've been enjoying it. There's some mystery behind it. There's a lot of things going on. Superheroes, I haven't forgotten, but their memories have been wiped that they're superheroes, and you start kind of seeing it. I really like where this is going. I think it's an interesting read, and I would definitely check it out. It's called City Earth. Again, he's not paying me anything to say it, but I've read all 4 issues, and I think I do okay at reviews, and I've enjoyed this. They definitely need to be read together, but I'm enjoying it, and apparently issue 5 is going to be out later this month, so I'm looking forward to that. So I made my promise. I fulfilled it. This is a good story. I enjoy it.
Okay. I'll get a link to that, too, in the description down below as well. Either way, you can get a hold of us. You can get a hold of us through Facebook, through Twitter. I'm the one that mainly maintains those sites, but I mean, you can definitely get a hold of Joe, or if you get a hold of me, I can get it to Joe, or any one of the Blasted Stash It crew members, because we all have our own Facebook pages. We're all on the Blasted Stash It, our Facebook group. We have a Twitter page that post stuff on, Instagram page where sometimes I post my own personal hauls and stuff on there as well, or some stuff that we're maybe talking about. We're going to be reviewing that week, so definitely check us out on all of those. And most of the time, if you type in Blasted or Stash It in Google, almost the first page is all stuff that's associated with us.
Also, just to throw this out there, if there's 8 or 9 of you in the room, if there's something you would like for us to review next week, I have no problems with buying a new comic book. So let us know. Just comment down below, and we'll definitely try to get that read for you, and that way we can all have a good time here.
Yeah, I was for a while there on our Patreon page for people who were Patreon members. They get to choose a book that we had to read that following week, and that's something I think is kind of cool to be able to do. Like if something that they really want us to read and look at, let us know ahead of time, or even make a comment down below in the chat of this and the comments in this video. That way we kind of heads up on it. We see if we can get it. Brendan McGowan said, "Do you think they should reboot to DCEU?" I think so.
Yeah,
I think they're with Batman, they're rebooting it, kind of.
Well, they're cutting everything out and streamlining right now. It's only a matter of time before we get an event that reboots everything.
Yeah,
because they're just cutting titles left and right, and then once they reboot them, they got to maintain the property some way, which means they have to use them. So we're going to see another major event happen here. It wouldn't surprise me if it happens 2020. And they just kind of reboot the entire thing.
Are you talking about the movies, or are you talking about the comics?
Everything.
You think they're going to reboot everything again?
I don't think they really have a choice. I mean, we'll see what Wonder Woman does as far as a movie when it comes out. Everybody's going to see that. Everybody likes the Cheetah Lady. They'll probably do some magic with that. But the truth is, the comic book, like Event Leviathan right now, is legitimately a spy story. It's not a comic book hero story.
Yeah.
Right? So.
I do want to give a shout out to new subscribers. We actually had 4 during our live stream tonight that popped in. New sub. Mitchell. That's a demonic demons, almost kind of like that in a way.
Keep it simple.
John's Comics with Kids. I thought he was subbed this before. That's what's weird about YouTube. If you go sub somebody else, if you have so many subscriptions, it'll kick off other ones that maybe you haven't been watching or something. I found like I was going through people I thought were sub to. I'm like, hey, I thought we were sub to that channel, but apparently we weren't. So I don't know if I have the link. Might be channels you could sub to. Comic Fan for Life, Glitter and Duct Tape, Frank, just Frank, name Frank, and then Thomas Wayne. So thanks guys for subbing us up. Definitely go check out all of our social media stuff. We definitely have a little bit of fun over there. We tend to poke fun at each other on there as well as we do on here. So I think that is it. Whether you blast it, whether you sash it after reading, and we'll catch you guys next Sunday. So thanks everybody for stopping by, and thank you, Joe, for coming back on for 157 2.0. So
whatever I need.
All right. Later, guys.
Bye.